All right. Well, that took, I don't know why that takes so long to go live on there. But hey, it's all good. Move that chair. No, you have to stand up and move the chair. Move the chair. 1, 2. Then if you go to sleep. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Moon Day. If you're working today, I hope your work day is going well. And I'm going to mean it this time and say that I'm not going to do this live long. I just saw a couple of posts and I was just like, I want to respond, but I don't think I can respond in under 10 minutes, which is the max on TikTok. And I did not want to do this as a series post. And also going live saves room on my hard drive because then I don't have to save it. Yay. So for those who know me, hi, I'm Ianifa Dania Fa'omi Shango. I'm an Ifa priestess and a spiritual awakening doula for the African American diaspora. And I help African American Gen X and millennials cultivate practical spiritual practice that is rooted in self-love, allows them to honor their ancestral traditions and cultivate a more authentic relationship with the Most High. So today, talk offerings. And the reason I decided I wanted to talk about offerings today is because I have I just had some thoughts. And what triggered it was I saw a video and it was the way he framed it. I don't feel like he was intentionally trying to speak negatively about ancestral veneration, anything like that, from an indigenous or perspective or indigenous African perspective, but his verbiage felt a way about it. And what he said was that if the spirit is requiring you to do something, then essentially he called it low vibrational. That's it, I'm paraphrasing, but they're intentionally trying to drain from the human world. And I'm like, there may be some where that's the case. There may be some energies where that is in fact the case. And that, you might want to be mindful of that. But in a general sense, to me, it is simply a form of an energy exchange. And thus, that energy exchange can manifest in a multitude of ways. It is also just a way of honoring said energy, whether this is an ancestor, some other spirit guide or some sort. It's just simply a way of saying, hey, you know what? I saw what you did there. Thanks. I appreciate it. And for me, just on the things when I look at, whether it is traditional African practices, native, indigenous American practices, or any other tradition, they're not saying, hey, oh my God, here, I gave you this thing. Please do this thing for me. It is acknowledgement that they are fully aware that this has transpired. They're fully aware that this has taken place, and thus they may prepare a meal, they may prepare, and what it gets missed in these conversations sometimes is in a traditional perspective, the offering is not simply that just sits there. It's a meal, like the community comes together, the offering is giving, and then everyone eats. Everyone is partaking of whatever, if it's a food offering, that food. If they're pouring libations, everybody's got a glass and they happen to pour something out for whomever. Like they're missing part of the equation that would happen in a traditional sense is where everyone's also partaking. So if they're doing an ancestor offering, we're having dinner and we make a small plate, and there, it doesn't have to be anything huge. We make a plate in honor of those who are not with us. It may not always be food. That's the other thing. It may simply be, hey, a glass of cool water. It may be a candle. It may be a song. It may be a multitude of things that are simply as a means to say thank you. When The podcast that I was just on, the young lady mentioned how she was told that if she doesn't do such and such a thing, the Orisha will be mad at her and bad things happen. And I'm like, no. See, we're always in an ebb, we're flowing in our destiny this way and that way. And our decisions were, one decision away from one way or the other, whether this is going to turn out positively or not. We're always one decision away in that regard. When you receive divination, it's going to give you a full picture of where you are in alignment to your destiny. Which way are you leaning? Are you leaning more towards the path that's going to give you the good fortune, the blessings, the best possible outcome? Or are you leaning more towards the other way? And if you're leaning more towards the other way, they're saying, hey, we've got some medicine for you. We've got some help, some assistance we can provide. We can help you push the winds and shift your ship in another way. That energy was always present. Whatever was going to happen was already going to happen. But what they're saying is, whether this is Orisha, your guardian angels, saints, whatever you rock with, fairies, whatever you rock with, hey, we can help you. We can help you. And in a lot of instances, they are already moving it. They're already moving it. So the issue is saying you're doing this because you have to. You're doing this because it's simply an exchange of energy. When you go to the doctor and the doctor is like, hey, you know what? Let's have a conversation about your blood pressure. Sorry, move your that. Let's talk about your blood pressure. And these are the things that you need to do in order to get your blood pressure back in line. And so because you had this conversation with said doctor, there's an exchange of energy for their time. There's an exchange of energy for the time they took to help you get on the right path and improve your health. Now, you cannot take the advice and not take the medicine, but they still spent time trying to get you on the right path. So guess what? You pay the doctor. You pay the doctor. That's it. That's it. That's it. Simple. Like, hey, you know what? Good looking out. I appreciate you. Will you pay your light bill? And this is how we reframe our relationship with money and consider it simply energy. We are grateful if we're in a position to have electricity, lights, and things like that. We make a payment as a form of gratitude and energy exchange and say, you know what, my lights are on, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm also grateful that I can have this energy to exchange with you to keep my lights on. So when we're giving offerings, this is not a way of saying, hey, I'm begging you, or hey, please don't harm me. So here's this food to appease. No, like your benevolent ancestors love you, period. And when you get those nudges to include things on your altar that are personal to that person, like for instance, my grandfather, my mother's side, they used to share Coke and a honey bun. So I would sometimes feel like putting Coke and a honey bun up there because it's attached to a memory. There's an energy associated with that. And thus I'm bringing that beautiful energy into that space. I feel that. Why? Because we are, in a biological sense, our ancestors. We are our ancestors. But we also forget not all of our ancestors are biologically related to us. The definition of a word ancestor is simply that came before you, that's those that transitioned back to the ancestral realm before you did. They transitioned back before you did. So anyone that we loved and felt a connection to and feel like, we want to remember them is an ancestor. They could be biological, they could be contemporary. So Maya Angelou would be a contemporary ancestor. I could see people who are poets and do spoken word having a spot in their home to honor Maya Angelou if they resonated with her poetry, if she inspired them in some way. So they want to give honor to her, and they may have a spot for her on a shrine specifically for her. You have someone who wants to dance and someone that loved Michael Jackson and loved his music. So they may have a spot for Michael Jackson in their home. He is an ancestor. He is just simply not biologically their ancestor. Godparents. My godfather transitioned a few months ago. And when it's time, it's not quite time yet, but when it's time, he'll have a space. I'll make a space for him, and he will have a space on an altar in my home because he is one of my ancestors. I loved him, he loved me in my life, and I have no doubts in my mind that he still advocates for me in front of the Most High on my behalf. I have no doubt of that whatsoever. None whatsoever. But the notion that they would not ask if they weren't trying to drain you, that's not 100% true. Can it be true? Absolutely. There could be some energies that are just heavily attached, and that's what's going on. But heavily attached, and that's what's going on. But there's also that notion that, you know what? I miss you. I'm going to play your song because guess what? That's also an offering. I'm going to dance and I'm going to play some music that you liked. Like I like playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, Michael Jackson. They like that. They like that. I could read a poem that I wrote. Why? Because chances are one of my ancestors was a writer. So I may sit and read poems that I wrote. And guess what? That in itself is an offering. So limiting offerings to what you see on TV, limiting yourself to simply like food, it's not simply that. It's also a matter, when I tell my godchildren, it's also the right medicine. So if you're coming to your ancestors or you're coming to any aspect of your spiritual team and they're saying, hey, I want to write this book and I want it to be successful, but guess what you haven't done? Put any words on paper. You ain't putting no words on paper because right now you're already thinking about the end game. I want this to be a bestseller. I want Oprah to say that everybody should read my book. But guess what? You need a book. A book. A book. It would be a book. You want to know what your medicine is? Put some words on the paper. You want to know what your offering says? Put the words on the paper. You put the words on the paper and we'll put the words in the right ears to buy your book. But guess what? You need the book first.
I need some tomatoes.
Go ahead and get it. Get it. Only my child is like, I want a snack at tomatoes. So you have the right medicine for the right role. The right medicine for the right role. It may be, I need to rest because sometimes I can be a workaholic. So those are strong. Oh no, those are tomatoes. Okay. I might need to rest. I might need to rest because I'm overdoing it and I'm exhausted. And that's the reason I'm exhausted. It's not because someone's draining me. It's because I'm hard-headed and I won't go to bed at night like I'm supposed to. So then I get that reminder. I remember early in my journey, I have the Everyday Witch Oracle. And I always knew this one card came up. It was my grandmother's telling me to go to sleep. I always knew there was something about it. If I dropped it, because inevitably would happen at night. I dropped the card and look, oh, okay, I'm right. I'm done. I'm going to bed. Bye. Like I knew it was like, go to bed. Go to bed. Go get some sleep. Go get some sleep. And understanding that it's simply an honor of respect. It is an honor of reverence. It is, we see you. We remember you. It is part of our indigenous culture, our ancestral culture. I want to put this in a way that's in gentle answering of that question. Are they asking for your offerings? This is what it is. If someone does something for you, you go to the store and they back up all your stuff and they give that stuff to you and you give them money. There is an energy exchange. In every aspect of nature, there is an energy exchange. No one is asking for anything. It is literally like, thank you. We see what you did for us in our life. Thank you for our very existence. Thank you for being who you were so that I could be who I am. Thank you for still advocating for me at the throne of the Most High. Thank you for still letting me tap into the gifts and talents. in my life that are but mine through our genetic lineage for your inspiration, etc. So when we do something and we know something divine moved in our way, we say, thank you. We don't worship our ancestors, we give them honor and reverence. And if we so choose to do that through offerings, then ashe, that's what we're going to do. We give them water, we give them food, we give them song, we give them dance, we call their names. All of these things are a way for us to say thank you. We so appreciate you. Thank you. Keep elevating because we are fully aware that their transition was that a transition. What do you want to call that transition? That they died, they passed away or not, they passed on. They transitioned to another journey. Whether that journey ends up being corporeal and they incarnate as one of our children or one of our nieces and nephews, or they continue to just do work in the spiritual realm. Like, you know what? I'm going to just hang out right here for right now. And I'm going to continue to do this work right here for right now. Okay, cool, bet. And like, it's the best knowing, like, hey, in the yes, that coffee is so like something about the coffee. Is something about the coffee. And it's interesting because I give my ancestors coffee, but I myself do not drink coffee. I will have some water, and enjoy the coffee smell. I will enjoy the coffee smell. But I know every once in a while I feel like I want to put juice on the altar, and I know it's my son. No, it's my son. I feel like putting I feel like little kid food. I want to put some juice or some fruit snacks. It's my son. That's my son. And I feel like, okay, hey baby, it's lovely to know that you're close. And that's also it's an acknowledgement. It's an acknowledgement like, hey, oh, you came to visit? Hey, what's up? How you doing? I love that. I love that every once in a while, it just feels like a warm hug. It just, and in the very literal, like, and I'm like, thank you. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. I love that my son will randomly walk up to me after I've been singing or saying, like, invocations and things like that. And my son will come up to me, Mommy, you did a good job. And I'll be like, and I'm a whole medium, but I think sometimes they want me to hear it. So my son will come and like say, real, just seemingly random, but his timing is always perfect. Peace, Queen. Nice to see you. And he'll come like, good job, Mommy. You did a good job. Yes, man. Like for some reason, Tuesdays, most people like, especially us, most of us like Sunday will be in the kitchen, like getting down. Like we feel like we want to do that on Sundays. But Tuesday for me, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about me and Tuesday. Hello, thanks for joining. It's me on Tuesdays, but like looking around, I have to call my friend, like, y'all hungry? You want a plate? Because I just made a lot of food and ain't nobody gonna eat this. Like I give some, I put a little plate in, but like I'm looking at the rest of this food, like who gonna eat this? Who's eating all this food? Why am I making rice and gravy, collard greens, biscuits, frying? What is happening right now on a Tuesday? Like the kitchen is going up on a Tuesday in my house. I think last Tuesday was the first time in a while I didn't cook that way. And that's because I had an overwhelming desire to make salad. Had an overwhelming desire to make salad. But even my salad was extra. Like even my salad, I'm like cutting the wheels of the cucumber, and I've got the spring mix, and I'm adding a little spinach, and I got that triple seed mix going on in there. And then I've got all my peppers and my choppers. Like I'm doing the absolute most with this salad. Doing the most. I will say as a side note that I took some salad to my significant other, who then told me Wednesday I needed no dressing. I murked the salad. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to make Monday and Tuesday? Run that salad back. I'm like, okay, like whatever you say, we got it. And what's beautiful is that your ancestors are also acutely aware of where you are, your situation, and things like that. So what I will say is, if you know that you barely making minimum wage, you living in a 1-bedroom apartment, they're not looking for you to give them a buffet. That's not that's not what's happening. That's ego. And I was like, a lot of times when we go overly grandiose, they're like, oh, I know they'll love this and I'll make it super big. No, it's about the thought. It's about the intention. It's about the love. So you don't have to do it like that. Now, if you're having a celebration and there's people coming and they're all going to eat and fellowship and enjoy all this food, I say do that joint. But if it's just simply this random thing and you're like, okay, I really need this help and I feel like I have to, no. The example I give all the time is it came up in a divination. My ancestors were helping me move some things out the way. And we're like, well, what can I give? What would you like? A tuna fish sandwich. A tuna fish sandwich? A tuna fish sandwich. You know how much it costs to buy tuna fish? Just a little, like I had a little thing of tuna fish in the pantry. That's the other thing. 9 times out of 10, what I desire to give is in my house already. I don't have to go get it. It's already in my home. It's already in my home. Every once in a blue moon, it'll be something not here. But most of the time, it's something in my house. It's something in my house already. I don't have to travel the 7 seas to do it. Why? Because I'm a single mom and I run my kids around a lot. My sons have therapy for their autism in various locations 30 minutes away from my domicile. I don't have to run across the planet to do something that tells, whether it's my ancestors, my Orisha, anyone else, that they appreciate. If it's food, I wouldn't leave it on there longer than you would eat it. Like if, let's say it's apples. Apples are good example. Apples will sit at room temperature and keep just fine. And if it's something like you cooked, so like if I put like fried chicken, rice gravy, collard greens and something like that, and I put a little bit of that stuff on a plate, yeah, that's not staying past a day. That's got to go. If I do something like nuts, grains and seeds, that could just stay. And I'll probably put that in something small to the side, and that might be something that just simply stays. If I do a Coke, I may or may not open the Coke, and if I don't open the Coke, it just stays until I feel called like I want to move it. Candy is the same way. Candy will stay. There's a nice little bag of Werther's Originals, and it just stays on my altar. That's a permanent staple on my altar is the Werther's Originals. But other stuff, it's kind of one of those things where if you wouldn't eat it, then take it off. That's the deal. If after that night you wouldn't eat it, take it off. And you can be smart about things like something. Can I cover it up? Yes. You can use the practical sense in doing things. I'm gonna put this plate out here, but you know what I'm not gonna do? Not cover it with saran wrap. And they get it, and they still receive it, and they still appreciate the thought, the notion, the intention that I had to say, you know what? I really appreciate you giving me that nudge to do such and such a thing. I really appreciate you whispering in somebody's ear to make something happen for me. I really appreciate you. It's the same thing even with our Ori. It's the same thing with our spiritual team. It's just, hey, you know what? I appreciate you. Because there is not, generally speaking, there's some that's not, but generally speaking, nature energies, which most indigenous practices are associated with, yes, for being verbally grateful, calling their names. There was so much that's elevation work, and more often than not, that is our ancestral veneration. To venerate means to give honor and respect. So when we're venerating somebody, we talk about them. We share memories about them. We do things in honor of them. So yes, calling their names, saying, thank you for these gifts and talents that I inherited. Thank you for these good looks. Thank you for my award-winning smile. Thank you thank you. If you know people specifically that you inherited certain things from. The last time I was live, I talked about putting a bookshelf together. And I was like saying gratitude to my mother's father because she told me he did construction when he was alive. So I would say grateful to him. In those moments where I'm teaching and I'm like really teaching, like when somebody says you be going on live and you be preaching, that's my grandfather. That's my father's father because he was very active in the temple when he was alive. When I'm feeling fiery, especially when it comes to my sons, oh, that is probably both of my grandmothers. That's probably both. That's probably absolutely both of my grandmothers. When I feel like I can stand in front of somebody, and it's 3:33 on the clock, which means I'm going to wrap this up real soon. But when I stand in front of people and talk about something I'm passionate about, what I know now is Shango was with me before I knew who Shango was. And knowing that we as humans are simply the physical embodiment of Mother Nature. Ashe, I was. I know that everyone doesn't have that or didn't have that. I wish I could have known my great grands. I wish I could have known my mother's father, but he passed away when she was a kid. And her mother transitioned when I was in the 5th grade. And early in my veneration process, one of the things that made me sad is I couldn't remember her face and I couldn't remember her voice. Like that made me, I can hear my father's parents say my name because they said it very specifically and I can actually hear it in their voice. But I can't hear my mother's mother because I was so young when she transitioned. I was just like little when she transitioned. But she came to see me. She came to see me in a dream. And I woke up, I was like, oh snap, that was sis. Like, I was like, I knew who that was without fail. And my mother always tells me how much I remind her of her mother. She says, I walk like her. To me, she says I sound like her. So that makes me feel good since I can't remember her voice. My mother says I sound like her mother. She says I walk like her mother. I have some of sis's mannerisms, like my hands. Actually, me and my sister both do that, like wringing our hands. That's me stimming. So yeah, that's, doing the hand thing. But she absolutely, when I say my grandmother knew a thing about a thing, even though my mother didn't realize it at the time, as she remembers things from her childhood and tells them to me, I give her that look like, you say she did what now? So I think it started with a horseshoe over the door. I was like, oh, she had a writes in notebook, horseshoe over the door. Got it. Okay. Then she said something else. She's like, okay, yeah. She never threw her nails or hair away when she cut her toenails in her hair. And I'm just like, oh, she didn't. Nope. She always had a little can and she burned them. And I'm just like, she burned the hair and the nails. Yeah. She never told you why? She's like, no. I know why. Let me tell you what your mama didn't tell you. And I think, honestly, that's part of my veneration practice is me learning the things that my mother didn't get a chance. My mother didn't learn as a kid that her mother knew, but didn't get the opportunity to teach her. So things with herbs and what the horseshoe over the door was and the railroad spikes in the yard. I was like, oh, I said, Mom, sis was doing what now? Oh, I said, we got to have a conversation because grandma knew a thing about a thing. Grandma knew a thing about a thing. So even when I decided to start, I didn't decide. Even when I was told that I was going to start making ilekes and ides and offering them as an additional extension of my Orisha work, I was like, well, how am I going to do this? How do I, make this successful? And I sat and I was like, okay, which one of my ancestors do I know was low-key an entrepreneur? It was my grandmother. So I asked her, we had a business meeting. Like, yo, can you tell me? Can you tell me? And we had like a conversation, like, should I do this? Okay. And had a conversation about what that needed to look like and how I needed to execute it so that it would be successful. And I was like, bet, say less, I appreciate that. And in those moments, you give offering. Like today, I need to put some coffee out. I need to put the coffee out. Today, I'm going to make the salad again because that's what was requested. So I'll make salad again, and I'm going to share some with them because were it not them matchmaking in the ancestral realm, this probably might not be going on. So I'm grateful every time. And to your point, even just verbally grateful, I do that. When I see that, I set an invocation. And when I say invocation, I'm not using the word prayer because when I say something, I'm trying to bring myself into alignment with an energy, not beg for it. So when I do an invocation and then I start to see that manifestation, I will immediately walk in there and sit and say thank you immediately. Like yo, thank you. I like good looking out. I appreciate that. I will immediately go and say thank you. And a lot of times that's it. But I enjoy putting coffee on my altar. I enjoy every once in a while, it doesn't come with divination. I just feel cold. If I haven't put food out in a little bit, I can feel it. I can tell. I'm like, you know what? You didn't put no food out in a little while. I'm getting ready to move them so that we're always going to eat together now. I'm getting ready to relocate them and they'll be closer and then we'll always eat, we'll always be sitting here eating together. But I love it. And I feel like your offerings need to be reflective of you in your relationship. You and your relationship. And you need to not come at it in a way where you feel like, oh my God, it shouldn't feel like an obligation. Okay, so I have my Ifa Ide. I made this one for Yemoja. This is Ogun. Shango. This is the Iami, and this one is a protection one. And on this side, I have one I made specifically for my ancestral practice, one for the two waters, and one is a divine feminine and divine masculine. So it's the sun and the moon. So these side is my Ides. Like these are actually blessed and like these are actually consecrated. These are my Ides, and these are one of these is consecrated, but it wants to be on my right hand. So that's why I wear it over here. And then these are, otherwise speaking bracelets. And then these are the Ilekes. Okay. So as always, TikTok with the engagement, y'all always be holding me though. Y'all be holding me. I'm just gonna blame it on y'all. I'm not taking any personal accountability. This is y'all giving good two-way dialogue, and let's be holding me because I be enjoying myself. Especially when I spend in the house and I don't have an adult to talk to for long periods of time. I appreciate it. I really do. Like I appreciate it. So this is what I'll leave you with. Your inspired action for those of you who have an ancestral veneration practice is build the relationship with your ancestors in your way. Yes, our ancestors did food and they poured libation. But the most powerful thing they did is they called their names of their ancestors. They elevated them. They gave honor and reverence to them. And long as your intention is honor and reverence, and you don't come at it in a way like where you're coming at it from well, thankfully, this also goes to your relationship with your ancestors because I don't have that. But I also said I said, this is what I want my spiritual practice to look like. This is what I want my relationship with y'all to feel like. This is how I want to experience you. And it's not that I don't have it. I'm clairsentient. I always have a physical knowing who and what is around. But where some people experience some of that extra, one, that's probably because they're not paying attention and they probably did something quiet. And then you didn't know, the person didn't pay attention to the quiet. So then they had to do something extra to get the attention. Or they have never sat and actually built a genuine relationship and they feel like it has to be out of control, not realizing it's you and your spiritual court. And you sit at the head of your spiritual court because they are you. So if it's doing something loose and things like that, then the question has to become, what are they trying to say about you? What are they trying to say? If it's like that, my relationship with my spiritual team, my ancestors are not simply sitting with the Most High; they're sitting within me. All of my DNA, all of my essence, they are me in my blood and my bones. When I say my just general prayer, uh, you know, bones of my bone, blood of my blood, root of my roots, and soil of my soil, they are me, and I am them. The culmination of generations, centuries, all the way back to the ancients. They are all me. They are all me, and I am them. And generally, if they're close, I get a hug. I feel warm. If someone's reading me, they normally feel hot. They normally feel hot. Like, why am I hot? Oh, that's the family. I got a lot of Aries. We got a lot of fire energy. I'm the water. Keep it cool. I'm the water. They like to run hot because they be looking like, who are you and what is you doing? But thank y'all. But yeah, your inspired action, I would say build that really authentic relationship. Like separate the colonized view of what that needs to look like and do what is it, think about you and what you want that relationship to look like. What do you want it to experience to be? How do you want to engage with them and them to engage with you? So understanding that relationship and letting it grow and manifest from there, you will find your own way. But what I want y'all to leave here with is you exchange energy always, period. There is nothing you do in this life where you receive and you did not give anything, whether it was time, whether it was, money, whether it was some sort of act of service. You give and receive in harmony, in tandem. That is the balance. That is the balance. And thus, when our spiritual team supports us, they're giving and receiving. They're going to do. That's what they're here for. They're going to do. Well, least we could do is be grateful and thankful for it and show some gratitude. Least we could do is show some gratitude. And whether it's pouring water, keeping a candle lit, whatever the case may be, decide what that's going to be for you. Whether it's taking inspired action because they gave you the divine nudge and all they want to do is act on the nudge. So they weren't talking to themselves. Decide what that's going to be. Because that's what it is. It's an energy exchange. Whatever was will be, period. You make the decision on which path you're going to be on. They're just trying to help you go on an easy one. You decide whether or not you want to do it. You heard what he said. You could do it the easy way or the hard way. You decide which way it's going to go. Either way, they're going to support you. And with that unconditional love, you still should say, thank you. You didn't do what I wanted you to do, but I love you anyway. And I'm going to help you get through this muck and debris that you decided you wanted to walk in instead. I'm going to help you get through it, though. I'm going to help you get through it because that's what I'm here to do. And you say, thank you anyway. So with that, I'm going because I drank all this water. And so I got to go. But y'all be well. Have a good day. Thanks for entertaining me in my lazy desire to not save anything to my hard drive. I greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a beautiful day. Take care. Jelani Bunny. Put your shit on so they'll get your